When you dare to share, you break the silence. When you dare to share, you speak your truth. When you dare to share, you use the full strength of your voice. When you dare to share, it brings opportunity to own your story. So tell it, be heard, and at the same time, your sharing is someone else's learning, inspiration, motivation, empowerment, and hope. There's always an element to each of our stories that remains a secret. For some, we feel it's a dirty little secret. Dare to share your untold story exposes these secrets in a welcoming and positive way. I encourage each of you out there to dare yourself to share what is yours to tell. When we dare, it is the courage to do something really important. Let this be a vow to each and every single one of us that we take risk, we brave, confront, and face what is, while inspiring and empowering all communities. So let's break that silence and tap into mental beauty. This is Salima Jadavji, your podcast host, a practicing social worker, and your mental wellness connoisseur. Welcome to the Dare to Share Your Untold Story podcast, episode number 89. He started from the ground up, and the unworthiness cycle kept repeating itself. To all my fellow listeners, before we get started, I'm just dropping in a note to give you a heads up that this podcast might be emotionally triggering for you. We do invite guests onto the show who share openly about extremely difficult life moments with exposure and impact of what the struggles have been like. The intensity of each episode could have a variable impact on your emotional and mental well-being based on your own personal story. If at any point the topic becomes uncomfortable or upsetting to you in any way, please do not pressure yourself to listen. Instead, be kind to yourself, do some self-care, and perhaps give another episode a try. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our courageous and daring guest, Anthony Florendo. Anthony has experienced multiple adversaries throughout his life. Born into poverty and raised in Manila, Philippines in a slum, he worked hard at his education and was able to complete graduate school and enter the pharmaceutical industry. When he immigrated to Canada, he came with both a Bachelor of Science and Master's in Business degrees, along with his wife and children. After Anthony retired, he was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune ailment, compelling him to adjust to a different way of living, and within a short few years, requiring the use of a wheelchair. While walking his dog using his wheelchair, Anthony was involved in a motor vehicle accident. Together with his wife, Anthony established the Canada Support for Motor Vehicle Accidents, a nonprofit organization that aims to aid those injured in motor vehicle accidents. He and his wife use their experiences to offer support, guidance, and empowerment to those impacted by motor vehicle accidents. Well, hello, Anthony. Welcome to the Dare to Share Your Untold Story podcast.
Thank you. That was a super welcome. I don't believe I've ever received a super welcome like that before.
What? Okay, well, I super welcome you, just even like that much more. I'm actually, Anthony, so delighted to have you as a guest on the show today. And I am really grateful for your willingness to be here, to be vulnerable, and to share your story. Listeners would know that I've said this before. I am truly humbled to encounter guests like yourself. When I encounter guests like you who give me permission to tap into their vulnerabilities and then draw from their strength and take in some of the insights and inspiration that get shared into the space, it's so wonderful and incredible. And it's really important that we take a stance together to help break barriers of mental stigma.
I absolutely agree with you. The pleasure and the honor is mine for allowing me this platform to reach your audience and share my story because I think my story will resonate with someone out there. And if that's the case, that's just super wonderful.
And that's exactly it, right? That's what this podcast is about. It's all about bringing forward untold stories that people go through, whether it's directly about a mental health struggle or something else. What we know is no matter what the story, there is impact on one's own mental health in some way, which remains tucked away. And so by creating this platform, it serves in a way to break the barriers of mental stigma that have been conditioned in our society. So today, together, Anthony, you and I, that hopeful mission of mine is for both of us to encourage people to share and tell what individuals typically have reservation to express. And of course, I continue to bring forward a trend, and it's called the mental beauty rethink. So, Anthony, what is the first thought that you have? What comes to mind immediately when you hear the phrase the mental beauty rethink?
That is a wonderful phrase. I've never heard that phrase before, mental beauty, but that's really what it is about. No matter what our mental condition is, our mental health state, we are all beautiful, and
Mm-hmm,
we have to appreciate that. And the beauty will shine. It's always there. It's
mm-hmm,
just a matter of whether it's clouded or not. But if it's clouded, there's always an opportunity to make our mental beauty shine. That's what I think.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like how you are able to articulate that. Like, no matter the condition or the state, there is this all-encompassing beauty that we get to embrace, no matter what.
Hmm.
No matter the conditions, we will shine.
I see a lot of people in different conditions. Like I go to downtown Toronto and I see homeless people
Right.
muttering to themselves, and I offer them coffee or something, and their beauty shines. They accept the coffee graciously, and you can see the beauty. It's always there. It's just clouded temporarily, but it will shine given a chance.
Yes, it's all about perception, right? Thank you for sharing that, Anthony. All right. So the time has come for us to get our question party started. Are you ready?
Yes, so
Okay.
ready.
I'm so excited you said that. So then let's get going. So that first question, Anthony, give us the newspaper headline of how you would title your untold story. How would it read?
Well, nobody's asked me that question before, but if I were to give a headline title to my story, it would be "We Can All Triumph Despite All Adversities."
Okay. Say that one more time. I want to take it in.
Yes, we can all triumph despite all adversities.
Okay.
Our story is not ended until the end. So while our story is still going on, while we're still alive, we can all triumph still, despite what we've been through.
So it's really a message of to keep going no matter what.
Hmm.
And it sounds like you're speaking from your own experience and sharing this title with all people. Like we can all have this title.
Yes, that's definitely true.
Okay. So we can all triumph despite all adversities. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Lovely. So then let's get right to it. Tell us more about what your untold story is all about.
Yes, I'm 63 years old now. So my story began in 1960 when I was born. I was born into a very impoverished conditions that are very difficult to imagine in a first world country such as Canada.
Hmm.
There's raw sewage running down the street, if you can imagine that. And our houses are not made of bricks and stones and stuff like that. It's sheet metal and pieces of plank woods,
Right.
and some even cardboard boxes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is the situation that I was born in.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 6 years old, so this is in 1966, my mother enrolled me in one of the plush Catholic schools in Manila. So here I am, born in the slums of Manila, in Paco, Manila, going to a plush Catholic school as an indigent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm faced in a situation where in school, I am surrounded by luxury and beauty and sophistication and all the wonderful trimmings that wealth can have.
Mm-hmm.
But when I go home, I am faced with poverty and ugliness and dirt and danger.
Right.
And that's my world every day.
So that was your world, that was your environment. You've painted the scene of like, this is how I grew up, this is what I was exposed to, this is where I was. Tell us about that untold story. What are those themes or what are those parts? Tell us more.
So if you're rubbing elbows with the science of rich people in the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
and you're exposed to their wealth and you're exposed to their extravagant lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
and their privilege, you
Mm-hmm.
feel like an outcast. Actually, it's worse than an outcast. I feel invisible and a nobody.
That's pretty intense.
I was 6 years old.
Uh-huh. Right.
In fact, I did not go to kindergarten. I skipped
Mm-hmm.
kindergarten because kindergarten is a privilege for the rich.
Mm-hmm.
So I was shoved into grade one right away.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows what they're doing because they've been to junior kindergarten, senior kindergarten, grade one. I
Mm-hmm.
was shoved in with the grade ones, and I don't know how to follow instructions.
Right.
The teacher said, when we opened the class, she goes, "Put your hand on your desk." And
Right.
I was going, what the heck is that? To feel
Right.
that confusion that you're in a different world that you don't belong in.
Right.
I carried that all my life, that I'm in a world that I don't belong in. I'm not just nobody. I'm actually don't belong there. I shouldn't be taking space there, and I am invisible.
Mm. You shouldn't take space there. And you said that this theme carried with you. So this was what happened starting at age 6. This is what you got exposed to. How else did this theme show up for you?
Well, another way that it showed up for me is my mom named me Anthony. In the Philippines, it's Antonio. Nobody's called Anthony except this nowadays there are Anthonys. But in my generation, everybody's Antonio, not Anthony.
Okay.
So I sounded very pretentious. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to ask my mom, why did she name me Anthony? And my mom says, because I can foresee you not living your life in the Philippines, but I can foresee you living your life in a North American country and doing very well there, being very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And that image stuck to my head that although I'm an imposter, I felt like an imposter,
Mm-hmm.
that my mom had a lot of faith in me and she sees something in me that I do not see yet. But it's going to be there because my mom said I'm going to move to North America and compete in North America.
Right. So you weren't sure how it was supposed to happen. You believed it because it was your mom telling you, but
Yes,
you weren't sure how that was supposed to happen.
yes. And my mom was the one who petitioned the Catholic school for me to be their indigent student every year until I finally graduated. So that's a lot of years that every year she's petitioning the Catholic school to let me in again for the
Mm-hmm.
last time every year. And she would actually stay outside the parish office, sleep there, stay there, and not allow herself to be driven away until I get admitted as an indigent student.
Right. So she went through great lengths to ensure that you got the education that you got.
And I did get a wonderful education out of it.
Mm-hmm. So much determination, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
she was really determined, and it sounds like you embodied that determination as well.
yes. I had to because I had to honor all her efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was always being very, very judicious in class.
Mm-hmm.
I always get top marks. I worked so hard to keep my indigent status and
Mm-hmm.
scholarship every year and not cause trouble,
Mm-hmm.
be invisible so that nobody will connect me with being a troublemaker and
Mm-hmm.
just being a very well behaved boy. And that's very difficult. Your life is like you're walking on tightrope.
Yeah.
You can't allow yourself to to slip.
Right.
So I do my homeworks on time. I work very diligently. I do the extra mile. I even clean the playground after
Mm-hmm.
my classmates have back to class, so that the teachers will look out the window and see that I'm cleaning the playground and be able to say, "Look at Anthony. He's so conscientious."
Mm.
So I do all things that I can to be out of trouble and to be
Right.
recognized as somebody who is worthy to be there,
Yeah.
all the while feeling overcompensating for my unworthiness, if I may say that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to overcompensate for my unworthiness.
Right. And so tell us more about this desperation to be seen.
Yes, so my classmates will go out together,
Mm-hmm.
right? They will go to movies together.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I can't pay for the movies. So I'm not part of that.
Right.
And when they come back to class the next day, they will talk about the movies that they've seen.
Right.
Even though they all saw it together, they will discuss it, they will be laughing.
Right.
I'm out of that. That does not happen to me. Even in lunches, they would be ordering lunch from the cafeteria. I don't
Right.
have money to have lunch at the cafeteria.
Right.
So I would actually go around, it brings tears to my eyes right now. I would go around and ask my classmates for a bite of their food or
Wow.
a sip of their pop,
Right.
because that's the only way I can have lunch and and have something to drink.
It sounds like you were very brave, even though there was this part of you that was so desperate to be seen and so head down, do your work, overcompensate. But there's a part of you that seemed to be very bold and brave, knowing that you had to face a lot of odds, and you, with that determination motivating you to be brave. I feel that that's what I'm hearing as to how you operated.
That comes out of my mom's faith in me.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had tremendous faith in me that I'm going to amount to something
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to disappoint her. She
Mm-hmm.
thinks I'm going to go to North America and be a professional. She calls it professional.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a professional, and I'm not going to disappoint her on that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And also the way she talks about it is it gives me the assurance that it will happen. So all I
Mm-hmm.
have to do is go through this, and that will happen. That's my assurance because
Mhm.
that's what she believes.
So it's almost like as difficult as it was, you were trusting the process.
Yes.
Wow.
I have no doubt in the process that I will be successful in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Although when I was in grade one as a 6 year old, everybody already knows how to read because they've been to senior kindergarten and junior kindergarten. They know how to count, and I don't. I will spend my nights studying like I was studying for medicine,
Mm-hmm.
because my uncle then was a medical student and he would be studying and I would be studying alongside him.
Wow.
That's the kind of determination I had.
Right. You took every opportunity you had to learn and really tried to take in as much as you could.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It came to the point that I learned how to read so well
Mm-hmm.
that when my teacher asks a classmate of mine to read something and he cannot read it, she's going to say, "If Anthony can read this, I'm going to whack you," because then you're allowed to whack students.
Right.
And of course, I can read it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So it sounds like there was a lot that happened while you were in school and growing up and learning and taking it all in. So what happened when you finished that schooling? Like what transpired next?
This is another part of the story that I don't want to share too often, but because this is Dare to Share, I'm going to dare to share it.
All right, let's hear it.
when, 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 when I was 12 years old, this was 1972,
Mm-hmm.
martial law was declared in the Philippines. Because at that time, you might not know this, this is ancient history now. Ferdinand Marcos was the dictator in the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
and he declared martial law, and everybody's just under lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 12 years old. That kind of oppression
Mm-hmm.
did not sit with me too well because it always harkens back to the what I thought was an oppression on me that's being imposed by the very wealthy people, and I felt oppressed. So when martial law was declared, I became an activist
Mm-hmm.
at the age of 12.
Right.
At the age of 14, I became a student leader. At the age of 15, I was admitted in the Faculty of Chemistry of the Far Eastern University. So I enrolled in university at the age of 15.
Wow.
And then from there, as a university student, I led many mass actions against the government.
Mm-hmm.
And at the age of 18, I was arrested by the government. So I'm thinking about it now, and that all stems from my feeling of injustice
Right.
and oppression, and I have to do something about this.
Yeah, you wanted to speak up and fight against the odds.
Yes, and somehow I managed to graduate
Mm-hmm.
and got married and
Mm-hmm.
have children and had a professional life and went to Canada.
And something that you shared with me in a private conversation you had is that not only did you attend university at a young age, but you also were able to pursue your MBA.
Yes,
Right.
that's again a part of what I feel is my sense of not belonging.
Mm-hmm.
After graduation from chemistry, my university degree in chemistry, I work in the pharmaceutical industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing so well that even though I'm young, there's talk about promoting me to be a product manager.
Mm-hmm.
But the pushback is he's so young. So I enrolled in an MBA program to boost up my qualification
I see.
because I felt that I do not belong in management.
Mm.
They say I'm so young, but that's not it. I do not feel I really belong in management because who am I to be in management? Who am I to be in management? Right? So these are the thoughts that go into your head when you have a feeling of unworthiness. Who am I to even aspire?
Mm.
But you have to convince yourself that I'm going to give myself the best chance to be in management. I'm
Right.
going to give myself the best chance to be qualified. So I enrolled in an MBA program, and my company paid for it.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
It sounds like it was such a conflicting time for you, right? Like where you're contending with these big feelings of unworthiness and this feeling of not belonging, and the imposter taking over sometimes and questioning yourself like, who am I to even aspire? Who am I to be in management role? But then there's this other part of you that seems to go, okay, we'll give it a chance anyways. If you can't do it from this route, then maybe try this route.
yes,
It sounds like a really big conflict that you were continuously contending with.
yes. I have a North Star, and my North Star is my mother's unwavering confidence that I am going to amount to something.
Hmm.
Because the children in the place I grew up with did not amount to anything. They ended up in jail, in gangs, dead,
Right.
stuff like that, right? But my mom felt that I'm going to amount to something. And
Right.
she's so confident in it. And that confidence is my North Star.
Hmm.
Despite what I'm feeling, something is holding me back. My feeling of unworthiness, my feeling of being left out, my feeling of isolation, and that I'm all alone in this. What's pulling me in the other direction is my mom's confidence.
Hmm.
And I have to give that a chance.
Hmm.
I have
Hmm.
to give that the best chance for that to come through.
So that's how you were able to balance the conflict is like, even though it's so, all of this is holding me back, you really held strong to your mother's confidence.
Yes. Because she was so confident in it that I believe it.
Right.
In my view, it's a done deal. It's just going to be a matter of process. It's
Mm.
no matter how bleak it looks, and it looked pretty bleak. It's just a matter of process. I will come through with this. and then I just have to figure out how to make it happen.
And it's such a beautiful way to be parented, that despite whatever you had or didn't have, your mother's reassurance and confidence in you and encouragement, it really helped guide you.
Yes,
Well, it was more like your guiding force, right?
yes, it's very strong force.
Yeah,
It's stronger than all the other negative things I experienced in my life. It is way stronger than that.
right.
When I was in grade three, so this is 1969, when I was in grade three, we did not have anything to eat. We
Mhm.
had no food on the table. We have no more food. We're all out.
Right,
My mother sold my textbooks, my grade three textbooks, so that we will have cash so that she can buy food.
right.
And then when she came home late at night after going through all that chore of selling my textbooks, and she had to walk because she did not want to spend the money on a fair ride, and she bought something to eat, I refused to eat it. She
Oh,
was in tears. She goes, "Why do you not eat this? I went to a lot of trouble for you to have dinner tonight, but I would not eat it." So those are the kinds of trauma that I experienced.
right.
So now I had to stay after school and stay in the library to
Mhm.
do my homework for the rest of the school year.
Right.
But I turned that into a positive. I
Yeah.
learned to love the library.
Okay.
I learned to use the resources in the library. I
Mhm.
learned to be friends with the librarian.
So that's how you dealt with the conflict, and that's how you worked through it, but those are some pretty important examples.
And although it hurt me that my mom sold my textbook, I had faith in her that she did her best.
Right,
So I overcome that feeling of loss.
for sure. It sounds like there were a lot of sacrifices and a lot of changes and adjustments that you had to make.
It's a lot of trauma.
Yeah,
You get hit with a lot of trauma, but somehow you have to be resilient because you know that this is just a process. I'm going to be successful because my mom says that I'm going to go to North America as a professional, and I'm going to compete in North America, and I'm going to succeed in North America. Never mind the slums of Manila. I'm going to leave all that behind.
right. So tell me, Anthony, once you left the Philippines, you said that you got married, you had your kids, that you traveled to Canada. What took place then? Did you start living life differently, or did some of the same themes follow you? What happened?
See, that's the thing. You can leave the Philippines, but the Philippines is always with you. All the things that happened to me in the Philippines followed me to Canada. All those feelings of unworthiness, of not belonging, of being invisible, they followed me to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in the Philippines, I got fast tracked to be an immigrant in Canada
Okay.
because I wrote a letter to the Canadian subsidiary of my employer because of my credentials in the pharmaceutical industry in the Philippines. They
Right.
said that as soon as I land in Canada, they're going to have a job for me. And I showed this letter to the embassy, to the Canadian embassy. And I was in Canada a few months, not years, a few months after I applied to come to Canada, I landed in Canada. But when I was interviewed by this company, it's now Bristol Myers Squibb. At that time, before the merger, they were just called Squibb. So Squibb, when they sent me to Montreal, they interviewed me, and I was told that you look very young because I was a very small guy in youngish look, and I looked like a boy,
Right.
even though I was already 27. I really looked like a boy.
Okay.
And he says, you're going to be speaking with hospital administrators, and you're going to be speaking with senior specialists in the field of cardiovascular medicine.
Right.
We cannot see you doing that and having that credibility because you look so young.
Okay.
I cannot change how I look.
Right. You were offered this job, you were given the security, But when they met you, they just rejected you just because of
Yes.
you looked young?
Yes, because I looked young. And they said they couldn't understand what I was saying because I had a very thick Filipino accent.
Okay.
And the terminology I was using was different from North American terminology
Right.
in medicine.
Right.
For example, I would say musculoskeletal, they say musculoskeletal.
I really don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, I can understand that.
Right? So they
Right.
said, no, nobody can understand you. Sorry.
Oh,
So that's it. So I applied as a clerk in a pharmaceutical company.
okay.
I applied as a clerk. I got admitted as a clerk, and I did not say I have MBA. I did not say I have a chemistry degree. I just said I have a high school diploma.
Okay.
Even then, as a clerk, even though I know I was dealing with people who are not very educated, like they're talking about things that I will not be talking about, like jokes that I will not be talking about, jokes like that.
Right.
So that was the culture.
So that feeling of not belonging, right? That feeling
Yes,
seemed to sort of creep back up as well, right? That differential of them versus me. I'm with these people who are so different, and I have to prove
yes.
myself to them. And what am I going to do now to be seen?
Yeah, yeah. There I was a clerk, and there was a power failure,
Okay.
and everybody started packing up. But I moved my desk to the emergency light that says exit because I want to continue working. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go home
Mm-hmm.
because my job isn't done yet. And I was ridiculed. They says, "You brown nose," and I don't even know what that means. You brown nose. Why are you doing that? You just want to make us all look bad and things like that.
These are all your colleagues.
Yes. And then
Okay.
I asked my supervisor, "What does brown nose mean?"
Right.
And he goes, "Your head is so low on the ground, you're touching shit with your nose."
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, that's the experience you have to put up with. If your point of view is you don't belong, if your point of view is you're not worthy, if your point of view is you're an imposter, you overcompensate by trying so very hard to be accepted and to be recognized.
And that was your experience.
Yes, that's my experience. And it is a burden to carry, the feeling that you're not worthy and you have to do more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And you take it for granted that that's what you are, that's what you have to do.
Right.
It's almost like a slavery. It's almost like you're a slave to this feeling that you have to outperform everybody just so you will belong.
So this need just to belong, you would go to such lengths.
Yes. And it's a burden. I cannot imagine a life where I am not burdened by feeling of inadequacy and feeling of unworthiness,
Mm-hmm.
because that would be so freeing. That feeling would be so freeing that you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to try so very hard
Mm-hmm.
and be on top of everything and be the boy who's cleaning the playground after the rich kids made a mess out of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You clearly moved up in life, right? So tell me about like when you had your own business, how did you get to that space of being able to do that?
Yes, so I rose up from the ranks from being a clerk. I had the fortune of the one of the vice president of this pharmaceutical company sat down beside me in the cafeteria because I was alone in the cafeteria
Right.
because I don't mingle with anybody. And this vice president, he's new in the company and he wants to know people. So he sat down with me and we happened to discuss business. And he was impressed. He didn't think that that kind of business acumen would come from somebody like me. So he asked me to be interviewed by management. The person who interviewed me, he's the sales manager. He goes, "So, you're one of those smart Filipinos, eh?" And I was going, "What is a smart Filipino? Why is that such a derogatory term?
Right.
Why does an immigrant have to be dumb?
Right.
Why?"
Right.
Anyway, I got hired and I replaced him.
Wow.
So after 3 months, even before the end of my probationary period, I was already in management.
Okay.
And everybody who was in the clerical division, they were saying snide remarks at me that I just got promoted because I'm brown nose and all that stuff again.
Right.
So those are the things I have to deal with.
Right. So at what point did it stop affecting you to hear rude remarks or derogatory comments? Because it sounds like every time you heard that stuff, it was really affecting you. And even though you have such a strong sense of will, was there a point where it no longer became?
It never stops. It still cuts. To
Mhm.
this day, it still cuts. If you hear remark like that, you never get immune to it. You never get used to it. Derogatory remarks and feeling just it's just like a time machine.
Mm.
You hear a remark like that, you're in a time machine back in 1966 when you were in grade 1 and
Right.
you're sitting there and not knowing what to do. Your classmates have their hands on their desk because that's what the teacher said, and you don't know what that means, and they can count and
Right.
you cannot count, and they can read and you cannot read. They know vowels and consonants. You don't know what the heck those are.
You go back and relive trauma, right? Like all the moments
Yes,
that were so
yes,
complex and unknown to you, and obviously filled with fear and just all
yes.
the unknowns and uncertainty.
So we should be careful with our words because we don't know what the effects of our words are to people. Like we don't know where they've been or how they got here.
Absolutely. So, Anthony, when people come to see me for therapy, individuals are typically in one of three places. Some people are getting started where they just come and they say, I have a lot of stuff that I don't know where to start or what to work on, but I know I have some work to do. And some people are in the middle, or maybe they have some clarity, but they have some ideas of what they want to navigate, or they're perhaps in some sort of an acute situation that they need help to work out. And some people are looking back where either they're trying to gain some closure on some of their life experiences, or they're looking to grow personally and have that personal growth so that they can move forward in life and be resilient and be the best version of themselves. But for yourself, what part of the journey do you think you are in? Would you say that you are getting started, in the middle, or looking back?
I have a lot of trauma in my past. I try to live in the present,
Mm-hmm.
but I wish I was past it. I can't say I'm starting, so I'm in the that leaves me in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
We can all triumph despite all the adversities. We can still all triumph because as long as we're alive,
Mm-hmm.
our story has not ended yet. We're still in a journey. I triumphed in many, 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 many ways, but in some ways I have not. I hang on to the triumphs that I had because we all have triumphs. That's our anchor, our triumphs.
Yeah.
The difficulties, it will come and go, but your triumphs uh, are like your gold medal. You get to keep them.
It certainly does sound like when you refer to the triumph, you're keeping yourself reminded that you can move forward.
Yes.
So if you can share a little bit about how your untold story affected your mental health. I know that for your story, there are several pivotal moments that happened in your life, starting from such a young age to where you are now. But if there's a part of that timeline where you can say your mental health was at its most impactful time, what would that have looked like for you?
The most impactful time for me is when I'm in Canada and I was already a senior management of a top tier pharmaceutical company. And the next stage for me is to be a vice president or even a president of a multinational top tier pharmaceutical company. And I know that's not going to happen for me. I was 55 years old. I know that's not going to happen. I've because I'm an immigrant boy. I don't belong in the white male world of top pharmaceutical industry.
So you mean like a lot of self-doubt, like a lot of self-doubt type of
Yes.
inner dialogue. Okay.
So I got depressed. I got depressed, and I couldn't function anymore in my job. And I quit my job at 55 years old. I retired, and I started my own business because then I can go as far as I want to. So that was very tough for me because number one, I wanted to be a chemist. I wanted to have a degree, and I worked hard for it, and now I'm a
Mm-hmm.
chemist. And then I wanted to be in the pharmaceutical industry, and now I'm in the pharmaceutical industry, and I wanted to go to Canada, and now I'm in Canada. I wanted to be in the pharmaceutical industry in Canada, and now I'm in the pharmaceutical industry in
Mm-hmm.
Canada. I want to be a senior manager in the pharmaceutical industry in Canada, and now I'm a senior manager in a pharmaceutical company in Canada. And then I collapsed. I felt like, that's it. That's my run. I'm done. I cannot fake this anymore because I felt all the while I was faking it. I cannot fake this anymore. I'm going to get found out now that I'm incompetent.
So
I'm going to get found out now, and it's going to be a disaster. And on my own, I quit. I retired
right.
at 55 and started my own company.
So that's how you were impacted, and your story has so many elements, and the themes of not belonging and feeling unworthy, and the imposter coming, and contending with the conflict of everything that you were witnessing, but then still having that brave mindset, but then still decompensating. That is a
Yes.
lot. So knowing that you've been through all of what you've been through and where you are now, what is your key message to the listeners of our show? What do you want them to
Well,
know?
I want everybody to know, and this is from the bottom of my heart. I've lived a long time. I'm 63. I've experienced a lot in my lifetime. And what I can say is no matter where we are in our life, we have the right to be happy. And it's all within our reach to be happy. And it is our right to seek
Mhm.
that happiness. So, what I'm saying is, it is our right to seek happiness and be happy and not accept anything
Right.
else because that's what we are here to be.
Is there any other message that you think is important?
It's not over until it's over. Just keep at it,
Hmm.
and it's gonna get better. I promise.
Okay. All right. So I'm curious if you can share what is your game changer inspiration? Like, what was that game changing inspiration that was close to you that really reflects your untold story? Like, was there a particular quote or book or person or event or something that really spoke to you that kept you going?
The thing that kept me going, the
Yeah,
thing that kept me going is my mom.
your
I
mom.
know that sounds juvenile that you look up to your mom in that way, but I look up to my mom in that way. She's my North Star.
Hmm.
By having my mom in my mind, I know that everything will be all right. It's just a matter of process. I will get there, and I have.
Hmm. So tell me, what is a cause or an organization that has been impactful to you on your journey that you would like to give a shout out to? Who might they be?
Oh, well, I'd like to give a shout out to a company called Prime Healthcare. It's owned by my friend Inga Tekachenko. And the reason why I'm giving her a shout out is because she was the one who took me in when I had a motor vehicle accident. And I was saying to myself, not everybody has an Inga Tekachenko as a friend, so I will be that friend to everybody. So let me start a not for profit organization, which I did,
Wow.
the CSMVA.
Okay. Wonderful. What a great shout out. So, okay, how can people connect with you if they would like to? How are you findable? Where are you findable?
Yes, I'm not much of a social media person, but I do have LinkedIn. I have a
Mm-hmm.
personal page, Anthony Florendo,
Mm-hmm.
and a business page, CSMVA.
Okay.
And I have a website for CSMVA, caraccidentsupport.ca.
Awesome. Well, we've grabbed all that information from you, so it should be on your show notes page, and people can click there and connect with you in any of the ways that you have mentioned. So, Anthony, guess what?
Guess what?
Anthony, you have just dared yourself to share. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Another
You did it.
triumph.
Another triumph. You sound like it was a triumph.
Yeah. See, another gold medal.
Okay. Well, on a serious note, Anthony, I would just like to take a moment to express my gratitude for the deep story shared in this space today, speaking about the quest of being accepted by others, combined with all the many tribulations you went through, how the feeling of unworthiness manifested in your life and kept you feeling small, the desperate lengths you went to just to prove yourself, and finding a way to belong. Your story is an incredible one to share and to be heard. I'm truly grateful to have been able to hear and witness your story today. So thank you for the deep conversation and for all the daring and sharing.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. And once again, Anthony, thank you for being part of Dare to Share Your Untold Story and helping to be a voice in breaking down the barriers of mental stigma. To all of our listeners, if you like what you've been hearing on this podcast and you want to be part of breaking down barriers of mental stigma, I invite you to go wherever you are listening to the episode and hit subscribe. Leave us a comment or a review of the episode and maybe how you relate to it. To learn more about what we offer, visit www.daretoheal.co. And if you are feeling ready and brave to share, please submit your story by visiting www.daretoshare.co. Thanks for joining in.